Hello, world. I'm back. Just to make a quick response or follow up to what I was speaking about earlier, um, about me being one of a minority within a minority, as I like to put it, a black atheist, a so-called black atheist, 'cause that's a whole other subject as far as being a nationalist. Um, you know, we are the only people on the planet, so-called blacks who really don't have much of a nationality in a sense. If you're talking about, the land of origin and the land of birth, we can say African American, but African American, Africa is a continent with 38 nations. So, you know, it's a tough question for so-called blacks to answer. If I ask a so-called white guy, what's your nationality? He'll tell me, Scottish or German, Portuguese or Russian, but so-called blacks have the toughest time answering that question, so, that's a whole other issue in itself, but a lot of us have been Christianized, throughout slavery, especially with Nat Turner's uprising, and I believe it was 1853, 57, something like that. But they began really monitoring Christianity and monitoring the way we worship. They didn't really want the slaves doing what they were doing in Africa. You remember the movie Roots, where they had Kunta in a slave ship, and he was talking to the warrior that was training him, saying, "Hey man, these people don't know Allah. They've forgotten about Allah." So I mean, most of us were Muslim, or we had indigenous beliefs, but we definitely didn't come from Africa with the King James version of the Bible. So it was real tragic to me, to see my people, hold so tightly to Christianity, hold so tightly to the religion of the people who enslaved them, the same people who didn't want them to read, would actually provide a book for them to read, a book with, worship, worship and fear your masters with trembling in the fleshly sense according to Christ, And, I shoot that scripture out every now and then, someone to tell me, well, that must be the Old Testament, But really, it's Ephesians, 6 and 5 is attributed to Paul, but I'm not sure. According to Bart Ehrman, professor of religious studies at Chapel Hill, North Carolina, Paul really, we're unsure if Paul actually wrote Ephesians. 13 books are attributed to him, but only for sure 6 of them are what we definitely know that Paul wrote. But it's just sad, just the lack of knowledge, that my so-called people have. I call it willful ignorance at this point because, we're living in the information age, and if you don't want to know something, you don't want to know. If you don't know something, you don't want to know, in other words, excuse me. There's ways to find information. All you have to do is pretty much Google it. You watch your sources, I'm not going to go to a minister, if I want to know how the world began, or how the world was formed or started, or, I'm not going to go to a preacher for that. I'm not going to go to an imam. I'm not going to go to a monk, a reverend. All they can do is teach me a holy text, which is full of errors, contradictions, and a lot of hypocrisy, So I always ask the question, what's worse, a hypocrite or a non-believer? And most people always say a hypocrite, So I would rather much be a non-believer than a hypocrite because I don't feel the need to stone homosexuals to death. I don't feel the need to kill my neighbor if I see him working on a Sabbath, which the Sabbath could be considered on Saturday or Sunday according to, your religion. If you're a 7-day Adventist, it's Saturday, So they can go to bat and vouch for you and tell you, why Saturday is a Sabbath and the whole world is worshiping on the wrong day, the whole world of Christianity, of course. So, just certain things I just refuse to do, I wouldn't kill my son. I wouldn't give a damn if it was a joke. a test or whatever you have. You know, I'd kill somebody for actually telling me to kill my son. You know, so I mean, that's some bullshit right there. You know, that's not honorable. That's actually disgusting. You know, my teenage daughters. I have a teenage daughter. I would not kill her if she's a virgin. If she's not a virgin by the time she's married. You know, I would not teach her abstinence as well. I would rather teach her contraception because, you know, all children are going to try it. You know, we did it as we were kids. You know, I would much rather them be safe than to, you know, be going behind my back, getting pregnant, doing dumb shit. You know, we're open with my kids on these issues. I don't really teach them against religion, but, you know, I let them see for themselves. You know, I let them go to church with their grandparents. You know, they used to come with me, you know, but I also teach them about evolution, and I teach them how to be rational thinkers. You know, I teach them books, you know, the 48 Laws of Power and things like that, because I do want my kids to be powerful and be in control of themselves. So, but pretty much, you know, like I said, with the blacks, so-called blacks, it's really sad that we hold so tight to the religion that was given to them by our slaveholders. You know, we hold to it tighter than they did. You know, even every First Baptist, First Episcopalian, First Methodist, First Lutheran, every first church is always an all-white church. You know, we don't even really worship together, especially down here in the South. You know, I live in Texas now. I'm from Louisiana. But, you know, our churches are segregated. There's, you know, so many different versions of Christianity that, you know, I asked a preacher one time, was Jesus God? You know, and he said no. And I said, well, that answer may be true according to your dogma or your tenet of Christianity. But just to definitely say that no, he wasn't God, you know, you're going to be at odds with a different type of Christian. So to help them make their statements true, which I care about truth, I always follow their statements by saying according to the Bible. You know, because like about Jesus dying on the cross, according to the Bible he did. You know, according to the Quran he was made to appear as though he died. You know, so I mean, it's like, you know, do you use faith to decide that? You know, you really have no way of knowing that. You know, so anybody saying I know Jesus died on the cross for my sins 2,000 years ago, I know it in my heart, I have faith. You know, that you do not use faith to measure something like that. You know, you would have to have more eyewitness testimony. You would have to have contemporaries, you know, talking about this. You would have to have, you know, more evidence than just what's written in Matthew, Mark, and Luke. You know, John. Not really so much in John, but you know, I mean, we can't really just, you know, use these things to measure truth. You know, this is just acquired knowledge. You know the Bible. You know, I can know the Quran and you know, and tell you that Allah does not have a son, and it's actually blasphemy in Islam to say that Allah had a son. But in Christianity, you must proclaim that, you know, Jesus is the Son of God, and you believe in Jesus and things of that nature. It's really so far opposite from each other, you know, to where you really cannot use faith to decide which one is true. You know, so the faith thing, you know, I don't really want to say belief without evidence, but, you know, just to want to believe it because you want to, you know, that's more of an accurate definition of faith to me. You know, just any little thing, your lights getting cut off, you know, I have faith the Lord ain't gonna let me get my lights cut off. You know, he's not gonna have me to where my lights are gonna be cut off. I mean, if you don't pay that light bill, man, them lights getting cut off, man. You know, so I mean, you can have all the faith you want, but, you know, God will have you in the dark, you know, so it's all about works. And even, you know, I always ask people, what's better than faith? You know, what's better than faith? You know, to me it's works. You know, you can believe in something all you want, but, you know, more action. It's all about action. It's more about doing and working to make things come to fruition, you know. So we just got to be real careful about the words we choose and, you know, the way we, you know, have our beliefs. You know, everybody has their right to have their belief, you know. I'll fight for your right to have your belief, but that doesn't mean I have to respect what your belief is, you know, because, I mean, you could be a white Aryan Brotherhood person, you know, whatever. You know, that's your right to have that belief, but I don't have to respect the fact that you think that, you know, black people are inferior you know, and you know you don't believe in race mixing, and you know whatever comes along with that. I don't have to respect those beliefs, but I do have to respect the fact that you have a right to have that belief. So I'm not really too much into respecting these Christian beliefs, you know, because some of them are just outlandish, and you know, to me, it's people pretending to think. You know, they actually imitate thought. You know, read your Bible and then what? You know what I mean? You're not getting. It's not really historical. You know, historically accurate. You know, it's very beautifully written. You know, but if it makes you a better person, hey, cool. You know, but don't try to put it up against truth. You know, because truth does not require belief. You know, whether you believe something or not does not have anything to do with whether it's true or not. You know, so you know, just be careful with that. And I challenge anybody, you know, put up a video response. You know, if you think I got the right mind state about this whole situation. You know, if not, you know, I just keep on spitting out what's in my head. You know, I'm a very learned person on this. I've had many debates, many battles, you know, with bishops, ministers, and all kind of people, you know, on this subject, and nobody has been able to really fuck with what I'm talking about, you know. But I am open to change my mind. I'm always willing to change my mind when knowledge has advanced, you know. So if you can show me something different, you know, I'll be willing to, you know, receive it. But like I say, with the God thing, you know, Yahweh, whatever you want to call him, you know, he would actually have to talk to me personally, you know. So you're not going to be able to prove nothing to me through the Bible, because, you know, most of the time I know the Bible more than Christians. You know, I spit out scriptures and they're like, oh, well, I got to look that up. You know, well, you believe in a book that you don't even know about completely. So, you know, before I start vouching for an author, you know, I'm going to read his book. You know, I'm not going to just say, hey, man, everything is true in this book, even though I haven't read it yet. You know, so peace. Open your minds up, people.